On Tuesday, a federal judge handed down a decision finding that Harvard University was within its rights to factor in race as an element of its admission policies. The plaintiffs, a group of Asian Americans, argued that they were being passed over for less qualified candidates because of their ethnicity. Harvard argued back that a university needs a diverse population to generate a more variegated, more vibrant community of learning. And the truth is, both sides are right. You do need that diversity, that complexity, that marketplace of ideas in order to have higher education. But at the same time, it's not fair to tell individuals that even though you're qualified, you meet our standards, we can't take you because you don't fit into the demographic that we're looking for. So without trying to decide whether the judge was right or wrong, we should look at there are three lessons that we could learn about ethics from this case itself. The first is you can't fix everything. We are imperfect people living in an imperfect world. We want to have a society where everyone has an equal shot, where everyone has equal opportunity, and where people have a chance to be exposed to ideas and points of view that they wouldn't otherwise come in contact with. That's a wonderful ideal. At the same time, if you work to achieve that, you're going to deny people who otherwise might be entitled to be there. So who are you going to do? Who are you going to serve? Are you going to serve everybody the best you can? Are you going to serve the individuals to ensure their rights? Something has to give. And it's simply a reality of the world we live in that you're not going to please everybody. You're not going to serve everybody. There has to be a certain give and take. And that not everybody's going to get what they deserve all the time. The best you can do is to try to be sincere, try to be honest, try to be transparent, because if everybody believes in the inherent fairness of the system, then people are willing to accept that sometimes things don't go in their favor. It's when they perceive there's unfairness, then they start to feel the system is rigged against them, they start to feel like victims, and that has a corrosive effect upon society, upon a community. Second, there's a certain irony about Harvard claiming that this policy is based on diversity, because while it may be helping to achieve a certain ethnic diversity, American universities and Ivy League colleges in particular have become notorious for their lack of intellectual diversity. When you start having safe spaces where students retreat to because they don't want to be confronted by ideas that make them uncomfortable, when we're more worried about their feelings and their emotions than about accuracy and truth, when we start protesting certain speakers coming to our university because their ideas make us uncomfortable, and when we don't want to engage them, we simply want to ban them so we don't have to deal with those ideas. When students can't speak up in classes because they're afraid that if they express their ideas, professors who don't like those ideas are going to mark them down, that is not diversity. And that's not what higher education is all about. And therefore, for Harvard to claim that it's following a policy in the name of diversity has a certain ring of hypocrisy, and that leads back to that lack of a perception of fairness and honesty and transparency that we mentioned previously. And third, the old cliche, when life gives you lemons, make lemonade. Right? In his book Outliers, Malcolm Gladwell profiles Joe Flom, who went to Harvard Law School in the 1940s as a member of the Law Review. He should have had his choice from the prestigious Wall Street law firms. But he was the son of Jewish immigrants from Eastern Europe, and he didn't fit the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant model that typified Wall Street lawyers at the time. So he ended up working for a firm called Skadden and Arps, these two lawyers that had started their own little firm because they couldn't make partner either. And as managing partner, Joe Flom started looking for a niche. They would take any jobs they could get, and they ended up taking the jobs that the big firms didn't want. At the time, that was particularly corporate legislation. That was considered a little unsavory, not polite enough for the big firms. Well, of course, that became the big thing, and half a century later, this firm had grown into one of the most prosperous and influential law firms in the world, doing over $1 billion of business annually. Right? So, again, life is going to be unfair. We can't use the small-mindedness and the lack of ethics of others to whine and make excuses for ourselves. We have to recognize that we're going to run into obstacles. It may not always be fair, but you go around those obstacles, or over them, or under them, or occasionally through them. You do whatever you have to do to take care of yourself. And it's true. We want to live in an ethical world. We want to have an ethical society. But the reality is, not everybody out there is ethical. So what do? We have to hold ourselves to the highest standard of ethics. We have to expect more from ourselves. And when we do, we will attract people who will be attracted to those standards of ethics. We'll form our own cohort, and eventually our own community. And eventually we will have a beneficial effect on society. Because the truth is, life is not a sprint. Life is a marathon. And while a lack of ethics may win in the short term, it almost never works out in the long term. The people who make it to the finish line of the marathon of life are almost always the people who have lived lives committed to higher values, to higher truth. They're the ones who are making a real difference in the world. They're the ones who are enjoying real success in every aspect of their lives. I'm Yonason Goldson. Please subscribe or like this video or comment, share it, keep the conversation going, and always remember that good ethics is good business.